Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What. Today we've got Harry MacKenzie on. He's the co-founder of Brave New DAO. Hi, Harry.
Hey mate, how you doing? You good?
Yes, I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, all good, all good.
Yeah, looking forward to chatting. Actually, we've been talking for a couple of months in the background. It's good to finally have you on.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, sorry for rescheduling a few times, but we're here. We made it.
Yeah, it's good. All good. Harry, do you want to tell everyone a bit about what you do, mate?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my career has been a bit like gone through a few phases, but like right now, I'm kind of 2 months into a new business, my new business, and it's a company called Brave New DAO. There's a bit to unpack in Brave New DAO because DAO, DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's basically a new blockchain enabled company that it's basically, we can dig into it a bit more deep, a bit more later, but it's a really cool, exciting way to structure new businesses. So it's kind of first time doing that. I mean, these things have only been around for like a handful of years, but effectively, what the company does is it connects investors to climate tech deals. I'll unpack a bit later, kind of like why I
Mm,
started it, but really, climate tech is a really cool industry right now because everyone's shit scared of net zero. Net zero is basically impossible with the technology we have today. So pretty much everything we do in our lives is going to have to get changed really to be more green. But the issue is that like the green solution is just way too expensive at the moment.
mhm,
There's a really cool investment, entrepreneurs building stuff in this space, and the rewards are high, right? So like if you reduce the cost of these solutions, everyone's going to switch basically overnight
mm,
to this stuff. So it's really the opportunity of a generation. You know, the financial returns are incredibly high. The kind of like moral, ethical impact kind of returns are also incredibly high. So it's the first time I've really seen that. So that's why I've jumped in. And yeah, the platform basically connects investors to those deals.
wow. I mean, it sounds incredible. Like you say, we'll unpack a bit later on about
Yeah.
a bit more into it. But I mean, it sounds great. I'm massive on climate tech, agritech, all those things that are really helping us to charge forward and change the world. So it's yeah, a really cool business. Should we go back a bit and let's talk about what you did? I mean, have you gone to university before?
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of had a funny career. So like basically, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was until I was about 19, but I'd kind of been doing it. So basically, like stumbled across it when I guess the first thing I did was when I was 16, and I really just wanted some money for the weekend, like I just felt like my mates had more money than me. So I just I wanted to find a way to take their money and put it in my pocket, but in a way in a way that was like legal and where they didn't feel like I was doing that. So basically set up this like clothing line, but ended up doing way better than I guess we'd expected. We kind of stumbled across influencer marketing like 3 years before influencers were even called influencers. So we're
Mm,
quite lucky in that sense. And basically, I was expecting to make like a couple hundred quid, and end up making 10K in the first day. So I was like,
wow.
holy shit! Like, and then there's the first time I like really seen money. So I was like, oh my god, like this is awesome. So I kind of did that for a couple of years. Didn't even sell it because I didn't even know you could sell a business. But like really loved it. I just kind of got bored with it. And during that time, I was doing my exams, and I actually did go to uni. So I
Hmm.
went to Bath. I did business because it's always kind of been something I'm interested in. But I don't know. I reflect on my like uni times. I don't know how much I actually learned from uni. Like it was cool being there. It was a cool experience and stuff. But in terms of like a business sense, I couldn't tell you how much I learned. Like I spent most of my time running businesses on the side.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess the one thing it did give me is a kind of like taught me a broader idea of like, oh, people do this for a living, and like people sell businesses and people do this stuff, like that. But I don't know whether I would have got that anyway, whether that's just like an age thing, maturity thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I did go to uni, but yeah, as I say, I actually worked pretty hard because like actually I find this stuff interesting. Like I find like this is what I like love to do. So I definitely wasn't that kind of like Stephen Bartlett, like absolute dropout guy that didn't
Hmm.
go to any lectures, but I definitely wasn't my full focus, put it that way. So yeah,
Sure.
did loads of different businesses. I basically thought I was quite good at marketing, so I was basically running a marketing agency, And then from that met loads of cool startups. And then
Mm-hmm.
a few of the startups I really liked. There's one called Jubel, which is probably the thing I spent most time on. But basically, when I found a company I liked, and I thought that their marketing wasn't what it should be, I just jump in and just like help them build it for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome because I basically took like 5 or 6 companies from 0 to 1.
Nice.
From uni, I kind of just found out what VC was.
Mm-hmm.
And it amazed me, and it just seemed like this industry where like everyone was really rich and like traveling the world and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, fuck, I really want to learn how to do that. So I basically found this guy called Chris, who I just massively respected, and he ran. We'll dig more into like the different types of VCs, but he was basically there's some VCs that are institutional and some that are like family. He's basically a guy that had set up multiple business up himself and now was investing his money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to learn from him, man, like because like I didn't really grow up around entrepreneurs, so to speak.
Sure.
And I just like kind of amazed me. So I basically went to work for him for 2 years, where we do kind of VC, but it'd kind of be operational as well. And yeah, and then that kind of brings me. So I was doing that for 2 years, and then yeah, kind of am where I am now, I guess.
So it's fair to say it was kind of quite an entrepreneurial journey, really. Although you did the VC thing, you started a lot of businesses, you've been involved in that kind of world. Have you got any kind of thoughts on what people should be doing to go down a similar path? It's quite hard, isn't it, to show a clear path because there probably isn't one to this kind of world.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a clear path unless you're like a lawyer or a doctor. I don't really think there's a clear path in anything anymore in a way, because everything's like changing so fast. So like the number one thing, which I guess is relatively cliche advice, is just do something, just start something, because the first thing you do, like, it's like very, very rare it's going to work. And like if you jump into something with that mindset, being like, right, I'm going to fail at 4 things before the 5th one is like moderately successful, then like just quite a good mindset to have. And this is what I kind of reflect on my uni days of like, yeah, I did learn some cool stuff about business and stuff, but I reckon I could learn way more if I just went head deep into a business, because like 99%, well, probably 100% of this stuff is on YouTube. So when you come up and you're against the problem and you're like, how do I deal with this problem? You search it and then you learn, and then it's kind of like you really learn it forever. Whereas if you're just in a classroom, like, do you know what I mean? You don't really.
I couldn't agree more. I think
Yeah.
if you learn something like for the last 2 years, I've been consulting for SMEs. I've learned so much about business just by being in these separate businesses and looking at the problems and be like, right, how do we solve this? It has been fantastic because you genuinely, like you say, you don't forget it because it's kind of ingrained in you.
Yeah, and like if you're in a classroom, just going like, you kind of do all these like memory things where you're like flashcards and whatever to learn it, and it just goes. I mean, you finish your exam, you go straight to the pub, and you probably forget it the next day.
I'm so, yeah. Education for me, the education system is outdated. Like you say, a lot of it is memorization, and going to university is great and everything. And I'm sure, like you said, you had a fantastic time. But for me, going straight into work or doing an apprenticeship would be more valuable these days, I think, personally.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I kind of forgot a kind of pretty critical part in my background. So also we started a charity called the Digital Nomad Project, which basically tries to solve this exact issue, because I saw like that in the early kind of phases of my career, my ability to do like digital marketing and those kind of skills, it brought me so much more than anything I got at uni. So we set up it's a charity, it's a free e-learning course online that's aimed at underprivileged or underrepresented people. Basically, you just go on and we teach you how to become a digital nomad a sense that you, because there's kind of 3 elements to the course. One is just like the first like chapter, I guess, is mindset. It's just like getting people out of I don't have the resources mindset to, the internet is pretty much all there. So as long as I'm resourceful enough, I can pretty much learn anything. So and like time management, all that kind of stuff. The second one, we teach people like an individual skill, so Facebook marketing, TikTok marketing, building a Shopify store, whatever. There's a few popping up now. And the final one is then how do you then go and monetize that? So the like, I guess the principle is I don't really think uni is that necessary anymore.
Mm,
Yeah, it's good it's good like life lessons, right? If you don't think you're mature enough for 18, that sounded patronizing, but like if you kind of want that, I want to live away from home, I kind of want that kind of intersection into life. I think that's really, really useful for those life skills. But like if you're looking to be an entrepreneur, you're looking to actually do a specific business thing, like just go into uni with the understanding that you're not necessarily going to learn it from your course. You're
definitely.
more going for like the life, social, all that kind of stuff, which is really valuable in its own right as well.
Definitely. And what do you think about at the moment, this culture that we've certainly grown up with is entrepreneurism is, fantastic. It's the best thing you could ever do. It's all very positive. Nobody ever fails. That's what you see on social media, at least. But I think it's important to tell people like it is really, really hard as well. Everything you see on social media, don't compare yourself to these people because they failed 5, 10 times previously, right?
Yeah, and it's also just wrong. Like most people don't end up doing well, and like, and you kind of got to be certain type of individual. It's not necessarily the most fun. Like I just come back from holiday with my mates, and they're like, like so awesome, you're doing this stuff. And I was like, yeah, lads, but you're out 4 nights a week, like I'm not saying like I'm Gary V hustling, like all night and
Yeah.
stuff, but like there's a lot of stuff I've missed because I chose this path. It's I really don't think it is for everyone,
Mm,
and you shouldn't necessarily aspire to. But I also think that people should be careful of big companies. Like we live in quite a blessed time at the moment where there's so many well-funded startups, so
mm,
you can work in an early stage business and still get paid a really good salary and get some equity. You're not giving up that much salary to kind of go and work in these businesses. So it's like kind of an unprecedented time in history, I guess, because you kind of get all the benefits of being in a startup. You're not really sacrificing that much. It's way more fun. The mission's cooler. You can like the most wealthy people. I think like if you wanted to average out like probabilities on how to build the most wealth, it would just be joining a lot of really exciting startups and working for equity.
mm. I
Like,
mean,
yeah,
100% agree with you. I
yeah.
think if you're a young person, you kind of want to go down working for other people route, go to startups, because if you go into a big commercial company, you become a little cog in a very big machine and you can't really have any of your own ideas. Okay, they will tell you can have, oh yeah, well, let's brainstorm these ideas. But in actual fact, if you go into a big corporate machine, they just want you to follow these processes and follow these rules. Whereas if you go to a startup, you're creating the processes, you're creating the rules, you're breaking them, you're trying new things all the time, and that's where you'll learn. I just personally don't. If you want to really, you're not that bothered and you kind of just want to go and earn a salary and enjoy your life outside of work, then yeah, I think that's fine. But for people that want a little bit more, I think startups are the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think you raised quite a good point there, mate, where there is just different types of people. And it's very important to try and understand what type of individual you are. Like my hunch is anyone that's listening to this podcast is probably more aligned to like more startup-y kind of stuff. Like
Hmm.
that makes sense. But like I've got loads of mates that they work in a big corporate, they go to work 9 to 6 or whatever. There's structure, there's career progression. They know probably where their life's going to be in 4 to 5 years, and they have great social lives, and they're cool with that. Like they don't want the uncertainty of what I do or what I guess we do, so to speak. And so
Mm.
I think just like for people that are trying to work out what they want to do, like it's just like a real process of like self-reflection of what type of individual are you, what do you want out of life, like do you want to just do your Thursday, Friday, Saturday parties and all this stuff like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
certainty, like that suits some people for sure. I mean, my brain just does not work that way.
No, I'm the same, and I think what really hit it home for me is, after I left school, I went straight into the city, worked for a few different corporate companies, and so I think somebody said to me once, they're like, if you're looking at your manager and their manager, and you don't want to do what they're doing, and you can see that's exactly the same path for you, where you're going to go and where you're going to end up, and you don't like the look of it, get out now and do something else. And that really sort of hit home for me because I was like, oh, I don't like following rules. I don't really want to work for other people. I don't really want to do what these people are doing in the next 10, 20 years because I can see exactly what I'm going to be doing and I don't like that. So if you're
Yeah,
if you're that way
sure, man.
inclined, you've got to get out and do something.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. And it's funny, like the phrase, like I've used it in the past where like you don't want to work for other people. And I don't think that's necessarily it. It's just like
Mm,
you don't want to work for another person that you don't want to work for. Does that make sense? You don't want to be forced to work with
yes.
someone that you don't want to work with. Like with my new business, I've got this, my partner in it is a guy called Frank, like way more accomplished than me, way more accomplished than me. Kind of got him on board for that reason. And like I love working with him and hearing how he operates. And I'm more than happily kind of take a bit of advice here and there from him. Like that's cool, but it's my choice. You know, like every now and then in the corporate world, you could just get landed with the worst manager, or you can have the best manager and suddenly they move up and then you get the worst manager. So it's like that lack of like flexibility and I guess freedom. But yeah, man, you're completely right. You need to look up at where the path is. And also like we live in the most flexible time ever, like
Yeah.
ever. It's insane, like the amount of flexibility we have these days. So yeah, I guess I mean, and it's not hard to find the inspiration really. I don't know whether it's just my algorithms on social channels, but like it seems like every other guy on TikTok's like telling you how to do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it's
100%.
like the information's there if you want it, but it does take a lot of balls.
I
And I
think,
know a lot of people have responsibilities and stuff, so it's not
yes.
easy at all, but it's
Yeah.
very rewarding. And if you do it for a couple of years, doesn't work, like fine, like you'll get another job. It's not an issue.
And you'll also be valued because you've gone on
Yeah,
that journey. You understand business processes. Actually think you're more valuable to businesses if you've gone down that journey. You can understand the issues they're having.
yeah, legit. Even if it's just like traveling, man. Like my mate just came back from 8 months traveling. She's got a job like within 2 weeks.
Wow.
You're not gonna like, and it's not like she's like massively high degree. Like there's a lot of jobs out there right now for sure. Like, and so like if you're moving around, if you're flexible, that's cool. Like people don't really care anymore.
Mm. Let's go into the Brave New DAO. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. The bit more of the mission behind it and what it actually is, mate.
Cool. Yeah, so essentially Brave New DAO was started because I think I, like many other people of our generation, grew up, like watching David Attenborough or like Nat Geo. We'd always see these like like world documentaries and like they'd always have this like undercurrent narrative, which is like climate change is ruining it. So like we've really grown up around climate change, and I got quite, I guess, like I watched like after watch like Blue Planet or something, I just get so angry and I'd be like, oh, I'm an eco warrior now. Like I care so much about the climate. And then you wake up the next day and you realize that there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Like this stuff is so macro that if you like if you turn your lights off or you take the bus to work, like you just don't feel like you're making any kind of tangible difference. And
Mm.
if I'm brutally honest, like I do think we should all be looking at our habits and stuff, but it's just not enough. Like we need real macro level change. And the issue I think that's caused of, you get angry and then you realize you can't do anything about it is that people become very apathetic, like they kind of almost switch it off. They put it out of their mind because it's just like those emotions don't really mix together.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I kind of started looking more deep into it. It's like, right, if I can't change it, doing what the news is telling me to do and what people are telling me to do, I don't feel like I'm making enough of change. What will make enough of a change?
Mm-hmm.
So I started digging a bit deeper into it, and really, the issue is something called the green premium, and the green premium is essentially how much more it would cost to use a green alternative. So how much more is it to use green electricity versus normal electricity, or electric car versus normal car,
Mm-hmm.
sustainable meat versus not sustainable meat, because really money rules everything, right?
Sure.
So everyone I feel like everyone, well, at least most people does like we do care about the climate, but really like life is so stressful. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to go for what's cheaper or better, just because.
You've got to make life easy for the consumer, haven't you? You've got to make
Yeah,
it
for
the
sure.
easy choice because like you say, there's people have bills, people have expenses, like they're going to go with market forces. And unless the market force is cheap green energy, they're not going to do it properly.
Exactly. And that's like across the board, right? So really it's the goal. So how do you reduce that green premium? So how do you make green products as good and as as like the same price as like normal stuff, because really that's the only time we're ever going to see change. And I mean, the obvious solution to that is technology. You know, I really believe that technology is the only way out of this. You know, humans have been creative enough to get ourselves out of every issue we've had before. So that's really what it's going to come down to now. So I was like, right, so I, as a consumer, I want to invest in those deals. I want to invest in the technologies that are creating the change. So like whether it's like scaling a wind farm or investing in a completely new technology that is going to, so like one of the businesses we're talking to can create like synthetic palm oil and stuff like that. You know, these are the businesses that are really going to move the needle. And I thought, fuck, wouldn't it be cool if I, as a consumer, could watch David Attenborough, get really pissed off, and then actually put my money to work investing in these cool deals. So that's really the concept. So like at its very core, Brave New DAO is a platform that connects investors to these climate tech deals, making a big impact in the world. So instead of me, so like I'm big into my investing, so I do the classic kind of like S&P index funds kind of stuff, save every month. So instead of me then going to the S&P and putting my money in there where I'm funding Google, Microsoft, Apple, like cool companies, right? But I just don't really care about them because they've got enough money. Instead of me putting there, what if I could go and then invest in like a wind farm off the coast of Malaysia, or this palm oil company, or just like carbon capture, like it's really cool stuff, doing cool things for the world, and earn the same, if not more, than normal investing. So that's really the idea, because as I said previously, like climate tech is huge. It's really big, and it's getting really profitable as well. So it's not like it. I feel like climate in the past has had this perception of it's almost like charity, where it's almost like something we do for the good. That's not the case anymore. You know, these are good, profitable businesses, and they just need more money to scale.
We should say it's important as ever to do your own research. You know, it's not financial advice, but you know, something like that is. I love the idea personally. I think it is really, really interesting. And are you focused on
all the research will be on the platform? Like,
sure. And are you focused on retail investors or sort of VC investors, or what are you looking to attract?
So really, it's like with all this stuff, it starts big and then you slowly democratize, right?
Sure.
So we're doing our first deal soon, which is like relatively private. We just want to kind of like prove the concept and make sure that all the tech works and stuff. And then we'll go to big institutions, and then it'll kind of like go down from there. But really, the goal is for everyone, you know.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been following this, and you know, I'm one of those people that has a billion business ideas every day. I'm sure, like yourself, but you know, listening to podcasts with people in Agritech, I'm massive on Agritech at the moment. You know, I live in the countryside and see, you know, the way the fields are used and how inefficient a lot of it is, and the farmers are saying, look, we can't afford to do this at this current time. You know, we need change. And then you listen to these people that work in Agritech, and you're like, oh my God, this is the future. But then you always get back to the issue of like the energy is too expensive. So if you look at vertical farming, for example, they can grow salads and that kind of produce, but anything more than that, anything bigger, the technology is just not there yet. And a lot of it is also due to the cost of energy. So if we can get more clean green energy that's, you know, costs less, like, you know, things like nuclear fusion, things like I think I sent you a link the other day to this thing called Quaise Energy, where they're basically going to drill down to like a ridiculous depth in the earth using lasers or something like that, and just give you continuous geothermal energy anywhere in the world. And you listen to this stuff and you're like, oh my God, yes, like how can I help do this, because that will solve all these issues.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, like my goal with all of this is effectively to inspire a mass reallocation of human and financial capital into climate tech, because they're the two things that are going to solve the climate crisis. I try and not call it a climate crisis. I feel like there's so much doom and gloom and negativity around the climate. Like it's actually a really optimistic time at the moment. You know, there's some really, really cool and valuable businesses in this space. So if like the big thing I'm trying to do is just inspire people to move in and to like redirect their money into it as well, because there's so much cool stuff to be done, man. And like there's a phrase I really love called like it says, I can't remember who said it to start off with, but it's like necessity is the mother of invention. So like when your back's against the wall, humans have a really good ability to create really cool stuff. And
Yes.
I just think that's what's going to happen here. You know, like our backs are very much against the wall, and people are coming from all around the world creating these amazing solutions. And they're going to be really valuable as well. Because as I said before, you know, basically every process and everything we do today is going to have to change, and within the next 30 years, you know.
Yeah.
So you can imagine like some of the money behind that, you know.
Madness.
Yeah.
Have you got any advice for anyone thinking about going down the road of entrepreneurship? Maybe your best piece of advice for them?
Yeah, partner, you know,
Mm,
like always be the dumbest person in the room. That's quite cliche, but I mean, like pretty much everything I've done, apart from that very first thing, has come from I've met someone and I've leveraged their knowledge or their network somehow in a win-win scenario. Do you know what I mean? So it's like people are 100% your biggest assets. And the kind of reaction I get to that when I tell people is like, oh yeah, but I don't really have a network. And it's just like, but you have to start somewhere. Like I didn't have a network when I started.
yeah.
Most people don't. So you've got access to LinkedIn, you've got access to Instagram. You know, they're really cool people on this platform. And generally, when most people hit a certain level of success, they're very keen to help because they feel it's like some like weird altruistic thing where they don't necessarily deserve their success, so they want to kind of pass it on.
Yeah.
So people are so willing to help. So just reach out, and even if you send 100 messages and one person replies, like cool, like that's great, you know.
Sure.
That is a really good ROI in the business. And then so you speak to that one individual, and then you ask him for two contacts, right? And then
Yeah.
so now you've spoken to 3 people. You ask them, you ask those 2 for 2 contacts, and then you can just increase it exponentially. So yeah, always ask anyone you speak to that is interesting for 2 more connections, and just keep going on that. You know, like people are always going to be your biggest assets.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess just like learn stuff and be almost like be delusional in a way. You know,
Yes.
particularly
Great
when
one.
you're younger, is that like this stuff is really hard. So you kind of have to have an element of delusion to think that you're going to beat anyone.
Yeah.
And the most delusional people are often the most successful. Like I was thinking that with like, I don't know, to use an example, but like, I don't know if you've been following it, but it's like Jake Paul boxing stuff.
Yes.
Like he's insanely delusional to think he can be a world champion boxer being like YouTube, but like he's actually like weirdly getting there now. It's like
It's crazy.
that weird like level of delusion and just commitment to like yourself. You know, those people are like, I've got endless respect for them, and they always seem to win somehow.
Yeah, oh mate, it's madness. But you're 100% right. You have to be. If you sat down, right? If any business person sat down and actually looked at their business in super detailed and realized how hard it was going to be, nobody would ever start one. So you actually have, like you say, be a little bit mad, a little bit, you know, head in the clouds. You know, don't go out half cocked. Know what you're doing, but you've got to have the kind of like, I'm just going to try, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Couldn't agree more.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, Harry. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I wish you the best luck with your new business because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, and everyone, just we're on Twitter. We're about to launch a TikTok. We're about to do a YouTube. So yeah, stay tuned, I guess.
And just remind us what the business is called, Harry.
Brave New DAO. So Brave New DAO. And yeah, also like keep DAOs in front of mind, just to all your listeners, because it's a new type of organization that's transparent, flexible, this kind of stuff, and they're about to get very, very big. So as a bit of an alpha to any of your listeners, have a dig into DAOs.
Okay, we'll do. Great advice. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
All good, man. Cheers.